Good, one of us does.
Hi everybody, welcome to Software Quality and Beer. If you caught us laughing, it's because Matt just asked me if I remember what the name of this podcast is, and I do. I'm old, but not that old. So hey, welcome everybody, and I am here with my partner in crime, Matt Kubal.
Hello.
Welcome.
Cheers.
Hey Matt, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
As always, you know, always good to have you. And we are here at Thirsty Buffalo in Odessa, Florida. So before we get started, I got to tell you a dad joke that I heard the other day. What did the father buffalo say to his little boy as he dropped him off at school?
I don't know.
Bye, son.
Yikes.
You'll laugh tonight really hard and you'll thank me tomorrow. So,
I'll probably tell my kid as well.
there you go.
Yeah.
It's a good one for kids, absolutely. Can't
I'll
wait
make
to
fun
tell
of you
my
for it.
grandkids.
Yeah.
My kids are too old for that. They won't appreciate it. But hey, today we're going to talk about upgrading to a different test management solution. Now, by different, I mean it might be a new version of the same solution you've been on. You know, maybe you're going from ALM version 12 to ALM version 16 or 2024. And I'm looking at Matt because he's a guru on ALM, so correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Or if you're getting a completely different solution, maybe you're going from JAMA over to Inflectra's Spiraplan. So that's something Matt and I combined. We have a lot of experience. We thought this would be good to share a few tips and tricks with you. So, so Matt, would you like to start off?
Mm-hmm.
See, I always catch him as he's taking a drink of the beer.
I'm just trying to get as many in as I can while the tab's still open. No.
Yeah,
So I did write down a few things here. So if we're talking same tool.
So right, same tool, upgraded version, let's say.
So I guess first thing would be like if there are known issues with the tool, with the version you're upgrading to. Usually somebody will have notes on that. You know, is a feature being deprecated or something that you use all the time not going to be there anymore? So know what's changing when you change versions. Sort of basic thing here, make sure all your files and stuff are checked in. That can be a problem when you're upgrading some tools. It can cause errors on the upgrades. So all the users might have to go in there and make sure everything's checked back in. I wrote down here that an upgrade is a good time to divest of old data.
Oh,
so like
do a cleanup, right?
If you've got a bunch of projects in there and you're like, I don't need these anymore, get rid of it when you upgrade. It's the perfect time to do it. Just don't carry over the repositories of data, don't carry over the databases, just get rid of it. Another big one, so the features that you're actually using or functionality that you're using, make sure those are part of your process of verifying once you've upgraded. So like an example of this is, you know, make sure your SMTP configuration is working in your new version. Don't just assume it'll work. You know, have people there that can test these things that they're using on a day-to-day basis to make sure they work. You know, if you don't get your SMTP conversion or set up correct, you know, on Monday everybody comes in and suddenly things aren't emailing correctly, right? And so now there's a big rush to figure out what's going on, why that isn't set up right. Custom workflows, stuff like that, where you want to make sure this carry over from version to version. Integration with Active Directory I've written down here, so yeah, you've got a login solution of some sort. If that's set up, make sure that's working for all your users. You know, again, important to have some testers there ready to go. Like you're probably going to upgrade this on a Sunday or Friday evening or something like that. Make sure you've got a subset of your users that are ready and willing to dive in and make sure all the data's there and everything's configured correctly. My next note here is who integrates with your tool. So if you've got other teams inside the organization that are hitting like maybe an API or something like that to pull data or you know, get reports out, make sure they know that this is happening, and probably a good idea to have them test it to make sure it can still pull correctly after the update.
And on those third-party integrations, make sure that you have current support on those third-party integrations. You know, so that because there have been a lot of times we've assisted and then come integrating that third-party solution with the new version, the challenge, the problem is with the third-party solution,
Yeah.
not with the solution you're upgrading.
Yeah. Last one I have here is really important, is what's your back-out process. So you start an upgrade, hopefully you're not doing it in place, because if you're doing it in place, you absolutely need to have some sort of image of what's there. So before you start any of this, you should have an image. Make sure you have a backup of everything. But do have in mind that this might not go right. We're going to shut it down for the weekend, try to upgrade it. If it doesn't go right, we need to be able to roll back to our old version, or just not tell anybody that the new version is out there on Monday morning, and then sort of regroup and try to figure out what's wrong with your upgrade and give it another go at some point in the future. So back out process, very important. Don't do something that's going to totally overwrite your data or cause your data to be irrecoverable,
Right.
as part of your upgrade process, and then not be able to back that out.
Okay.
So that's a huge one for sure. That's the end of my notes.
Those are great.
Yeah.
Those are great. So some things that I would add, and right now I guess I'm more from the angle of, we get contacted quite often to assist companies with their upgrades. So one of the things that I like to know when they reach out to us is, okay, as I mentioned, you have support current. When is the upgrade going to have to be done? Does it have to be done during off hours, evening, night hours, and weekend hours? We need to know that. If not, and it can be done during daytime hours, what's the process to communicate to the team to stay out of the solution? Because typically you need to deactivate the projects before you can migrate those. So those are very important. The other thing obviously is, what about access? What kind of access are we going to have? And also, who is truly going to be driving the mouse? Because if it's us and we have access, no problem. But we've had numerous situations where time was of the essence. We couldn't go through the process to get complete and total access. So in other words, they would drive, they would have the mouse, they would create a Zoom session or a GoToMeeting or a Teams meeting, something like that, and then we would tell them where to click. That obviously is slower.
Slow, frustrating, all this stuff. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. So now I want to share a few things if you're now going to a completely different solution. I used in the example, maybe you're going from JAMA to ALM or JAMA to Inflectra Spiroplan. So some things, I'm making an assumption here, and that is that your organization has done a POC and you own the new solution. So one of the things you want to absolutely make sure of is that you have support for the legacy solution. Don't let that lapse while you're doing your upgrade, because you might need to contact them to help you with the migration of data if the problem's with their solution.
Yeah.
Also, does the new solution you're upgrading to, does it have a migration tool?
Right.
So you want to be familiar with what it does and does not do, and how will you process the changes. So for example, perhaps the new solution handles releases differently than the old one.
Yeah.
Well, which way did you like it better? That's what you want to incorporate. Don't stay with old or bad processes just because that was how the solution you were moving from did it, and that's what you're used to.
Yeah.
Are there any third-party synchronizations? The most common one that we run into today is Jira.
Yeah.
What level of support does the new vendor provide during the migration process? Maybe you want to think about hiring somebody like Checkpoint Technologies to assist you with it. What about the sign-on process? Are you going to incorporate LDAP, single sign-on, or something else? And also training. What are you going to do for training, and what's the timing on that? Because a lot of the timing on that is going to be based on when you're expecting to make the switch with your team, because it truly is an on-off switch. It's like, all right, today's Tuesday, we're using solution A. Tomorrow's Wednesday, they come into the office and they're using solution B, or they're expected to. So these are some anything you'd add to that?
Yeah, I would say, are there any like differences or limitations in the new tool that you need to be aware of, that your end users need to be aware of? And an example I came up with here was like an Excel importer. Like a lot of people will use an integrated add-in in Excel where they can type up their test cases in Excel and it'll just pop them into their tool. Well, if your new tool doesn't have that sort of thing, your end users need to know that. So you got to consider like all the little tail ends of everybody who's using your tool and the things they're doing with it, and make sure that everybody involved is okay with the upgrade that's going to happen. You know, maybe you don't have a choice in that, but those people are going to need to know their process is going to have to change.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great point.
And
Great
then
point.
I had another point about here, make sure you have like the SMEs in place for your new tool. So if, say, your old tool, you had to deploy Microsoft SQL, and now your new tool is Oracle based, you need to have somebody there that's a DBA that can handle that, right?
Yeah,
so
right,
if there's
right.
any back-end solutions that need to be dealt with, you need to have the people in place to do that. Don't just assume you'll luck into it as you go somehow.
Yeah, who's going to be needed, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Right.
on your team, yeah.
Yeah, and that's I had a note here about how you're going to transfer your artifacts. So I know sometimes there's a transfer tool, but a lot of times at the base level, it's how do I get these things into Excel?
Yeah.
Like how can I get them out, and so that I can ingest them into another tool.
Great point.
So that's probably the biggest one is getting your artifacts transferred.
Great point.
Most
Great
difficult
point.
thing.
So, and I'd be willing to bet that if we wanted to extend this to 30 or 45 minutes, we could go on a lot more. So I want to invite all of you, reach out to us, Bob Cruz. I'm on LinkedIn. Go to our website, send us a quick note. We're more than happy to get on the phone with you for a little while and share with some other tips, learn about your situation. More than happy to do that. But I hope this was helpful. We hope this was helpful. Yeah. Matt, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
And hey, everybody, thank you so much, and cheers.
Cheers.
Take care. Bye now.